Devil May Cry has finally been released on Netflix in a string of video game adaptations. I was wondering when this video game was going to get a new show ever since the Castlevania series blew up in 2017? Where has the time gone? But I guess better late than never, as the video game adaptations have started to overtake the superhero movies because, well, they fell due to their own pride and also the Disney Warner Brothers fuck-ups. Castlevania, Sonic, the Super Mario Brothers, Last of Us, and Fallout have all shown that video game adaptations can be made very profitable and enjoyable, unlike the filth of the past. Now, I'm coming to you all as a fan of animation, a fan of video games, and basically just an overall nerd. When it comes to these kinds of projects, there are two very important questions. 1. How accurate is it from the source material? And 2. How good is it, period? You need to please the game's fans while also ensuring that it's good enough for anyone who hasn't played the video games to have a good time. You know, the uncultured swine who think that they're better than you by complaining on Twitter. But before we get into the story, I think it's best to talk about the visuals and the voice acting. I am a connoisseur of animation because I believe that with it, you can unlock the full potential of imagination. It could be for everyone, even older audiences. It can be made to impress anyone, young kids or even older audiences. If you're any parent who says that animation is just for kids, I will show them Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, and every gruesome moment from anime and ask them, do you still think it's for kids while they barf out yesterday's lunch? Because that is the power of animation. With that in mind, the show is animated very well. This isn't some kiddie animation style like Teen Titans Go. This is hardcore, well drawn, because shocker, it was made in South Korea by Studio Mir. If you're gonna trust anyone with animation, I'd certainly trust Asian studios because recently, Western ones suck. If I am to have a little bit of a gripe to show that I'm not biased, the only issue that I had was that it had a problem with the CGI when it was used. You can really tell. Luckily, those moments aren't as frivolous or common, so it's just brief glimpses of the bad CGI overtaking what is essentially great animation. The voice acting for the English dub was actually pretty solid. Many seemed unsure of Johnny Young Bosch playing Dante, but I'd say he does a really good job. It makes sense for Johnny to play a younger Dante. After all, he played a protagonist from the same video game series, aka Nero, a protagonist from the later installments of the game. So having him play a younger Dante was a good call. I also want to point out that Kevin freaking Conroy was in this, the Batman. So I guess this was his real final performance instead of that turd of a game, Suicide Squad. Alright, enough talking about the guys, let's talk about the ladies. I want to talk about Lady. Now, I know it's all part of the plot and it might change later in the story, but Lady was a little too serious and swore a lot, like she was in Has-Been Hotel.
Is the exact thing the rabbit needs to jumpstart his apocalypse, you demonic dumb.
Like, seriously. With all that in mind, the voice actress for Lady was actually pretty spot on. I just think that maybe they could have taken her in a different direction. Maybe, you know, the lady that we saw in the video games instead of, I don't know what this kind of lady is. She seems way too different. But I will say that every voice actor brought their A game and really brought this painting to life. That is why animated shows are better than live action. Now let's get back to those important questions from before. We'll start with how accurate this is from the source material. Okay, so Devil May Cry isn't exactly one-to-one faithful, but then again, they did have to do the sort of artistic liberties with the Castlevania series. However, you can tell that this story was inspired by at least the first event in the series, aka Devil May Cry 3. Yeah, for some reason it's not 1, I don't know why, but timeline. If you want a brief summary of the plot, here it is. A demon bunny who has read too much Alice in Wonderland wants to destroy the barrier that separates the realm of demons called Makai so that they can escape their hellish world to the human realm. It's all up to Dante to save their lives and prevent the apocalypse from happening. Much like Mario saving the princess, it's a typical demon hunter storyline. Kill demons and save the world from demon subjugation, like in the games. It's the typical good guy trying to save the world. They even brought in Hiroyuki Kobayashi, who produced the first game and also number 4, who was brought in to help supervise on Capcom's behalf. So they tried to make the series as close to the game's world building and lore as possible, unlike that other game. However, if you go online and maybe go on X/Twitter, you could probably see that fans are a little livid and upset because, let's just say that Adi Shankar took some liberties. Oh my freaking god, it's like those goddamn orcs in the Rings of Power again. Why couldn't Netflix just be like the Sonic and Super Mario Bros. Movies? Why do they keep hiring people who want to insert some indie film anti-war BS into these franchises? These are supposed to be fun games. They're supposed to be a fun show. Why are they doing this? This liberty is what seems to be making fans very upset. Seriously, this is the biggest gripe that I see a lot of people complaining about on the show. The liberty of what Adi did to the demons is very disrespectful. Does it add dimensions to the anime? Yes. But does it do it in the best way? Hell no. So for that, I'd have to deduct points. We didn't need a moment to humanize and feel pity for Koopas or Goombas in Mario, or the robots and Robotnik and Sonic. This is a show based on a video game about a demon hunter who kills demons and gets thrusted into world-saving plots, yet he can't afford to keep the lights on for his own business. So is it faithful? 60-40% of the time, but that is a very, very bad 40. Now it comes down to the big question. Was it good? Okay, so imagine this. Imagine if this was your first encounter for the franchise, you haven't played any of the games, you can enjoy the witty humor, the great animation style, the mesmerizing action inspired by the game, and an easy to follow plot. I think you'll be fine if you don't really mind the show's artistic liberties. I'd have to rate this let's just say a 6 or 7 out of 10. Netflix really needs to rewrite their plans for whatever they got in the next season before it's too late. Follow Mario and Sonic's lead and be more faithful to the franchise. Remember, the fans have the games. They don't need you. You need them. Without the fans, you have no show. If you don't learn from your mistakes, well then, a storm is coming. This has been Dante from the Anime Underworld, and remember, I'll see you mortals later.